Hello, friends. It's good to be here with you. As Mark says, I've been teaching here regularly for many years, usually on Rosh Chodesh, on the new moon, and my teammate Jenna Tzedaka Bassman runs the full moon, but we flip-flop this month. So here I am, almost towards the full moon of the month of Tammuz. And if this is your first time sitting with me, I want to first assure you that looking at the moon as a spiritual practice is not a woo-woo hippie thing. It actually is the first commandment in Exodus from God telling the Israelites that upon leaving Egypt, upon leaving slavery, the first commandment is to mark the moon because that is our own way of telling time, and our own ownership of time is what makes us a free person. So that is right there in Torah. I fell in love with this practice through my mindfulness practice because I was asking myself, how can I be present in each moment? How can I bring present moment awareness to myself, to my body, to my emotions? I taught mindfulness for 10 years as my background. And then I asked myself, what does it mean to be present in Jewish time? And I opened myself up to the Hebrew calendar, becoming a tool for me to bring my present moment awareness practice through the lens of Jewish spirituality. And I fell in love with the Hebrew calendar because it teaches us how to feel. And it is a cycle, and it's cyclical time. And so we are in the month, the full moon of Tammuz. And for those of you who know about it, it's not a light, easy time. It is intense. Tammuz means heating. But we've had Tammuzes before, and we will have Tammuzes again. And this is a chance for us to just be present with what is and what this month is about. So that's what my offering will be today. And just in general, the work about the well that I do is about teaching time, awareness, presence through the calendar, specifically around Rosh Chodesh, which is a practice for all people of all bodies and all genders, but has always been an elevated women's time to come together in community and storytell and be with each other as we process a new cycle of the moon. So if you want more of that, easy to find me. And I'm really excited that IGS and At the Well are dreaming forward about some collaborating for Rosh Chodesh together. So planting that seed. But let's get into our sit now. Like I said, Tammuz, the full moon of Tammuz is this weekend, and then the 17th of Tammuz is a fast day because this month is when the beginning of the destruction of the temple happens. And so this month of on the 17th of Tammuz is when the walls of Jerusalem were breached. And then by the 9th of Av, we have Tisha B'Av, which is the saddest day on the calendar. And so actually between the 17th of Tammuz and the 9th of Av are these times that are intense. And actually the months of Tammuz and Av, which will be next month, are known as the two weeping eyes of the calendar. And so this is an intense time of year. It would have been the same teaching last year on Tammuz and the Tammuz before. And because Tammuz 5784 is like this, the idea of how do we hold space for our grief and sorrow is not something that we are just thinking about now, because we're living in a backdrop where there's so much destruction and pain and a really challenging time around us. It has happened on Earth before, and it's happening now. And so it can be overwhelming. So I want to also just call that out to whatever it is that you're experiencing now. It's hot. I mean, my daughter is about to be 1. She's got rashes all over her body. I don't know where they came from, but I thought maybe she was aligned with the Hebrew calendar. She was just getting overheated. The rest of us can get overheated too. And we maybe are quick to anger, or there's something that's not going exactly the way we want in the middle, like in the most narrow view of our life, that there's stuff around us that might be getting overheated. And we could use our mindfulness practice and our Jewish lens practice to become aware of that. And then on a broader global scale, obviously, we find ourselves in a time of war and mourning and despair and disconnection and really surprising things that make us uncertain about the future. And so for today's sit, I want to invite us to be fully in the 13th of Tammuz and acknowledge it and not shy away from fully embracing sorrow. And also caveat to also make really clear that if that's not something that you could do today, to mute me and come back on right before we do the Mourner's Kaddish, so you can still be in presence with us and own your own experience. And then also that Judaism does not have us do our deep feelings alone. And in general, we believe full-heartedly in collective care. And so currently there's 177 people Zooming in together. And so I want to start our meditation with a connection to all of those people so that we can feel like we are in each, holding space for each other's divine presence. The Shekhinah, actually, the divine presence of God, the Shekhinah, was there during the destruction of the temple and then moved into exile with us. And so as we start to sit with this time, I want to invite us to be present with each other and to be present with the divine presence that actually is with us during these hard times. So with that, let's do more of that deep breathing. Find yourself into whatever position is good for you today. Feel free to take any kind of movement that allows you to drop more fully into your sensory experience. My eyes are open because I like to teach from a place of using my eyes. It's an important sense for me, but you can do whatever you want with your eyes as far as I'm concerned. This month is about, the nickname, the two weeping eyes. So if it's too much to have your eyes closed, then you can have them be open with a light awareness on something. And we'll just take some deep breaths as we drop in. Inhaling and exhaling. So imagine that you have roots coming from you that are imaginary, that go underneath the ground and go underneath the Zoom room here and intertwine with all the other 177 people's roots that are here. And imagine yourself being like a tree. You're getting nourishment and sustenance and everything that you need from the other roots that are talking to each other non-verbally. And put your love into the field that we're creating together. And please be open to receiving the love that's coming to you as well. And let's use this place as an anchor for ourselves. Whenever it is that you need to come back to the community being together, it's here, right here, in your roots. The sages in the Talmud teach us that the temple was destroyed due to baseless hatred, they say. But that means that it can also symbolically be rebuilt with baseless love. So let's continue to be in that baseless love with each other. And use it as a strong foundation as we explore what arises for us with our lens of the present moment to be the 13th of Tammuz, 5784. I'd like us to explore opening ourselves with awareness to the sorrows in our life. Recognizing it, feeling it fully, and meeting it with baseless love. If you notice yourself feeling strong emotions to the opening of sorrow or destruction and grief in your life, first of all, you're not alone. It's okay to notice the strong sensations that might be evoked, tears, for example. For everything, there is a season and a time, every matter under the sky, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time for war and a time for peace. Ecclesiastes. Remembering to hold your challenging emotions with tenderness and love, baseless love, and the divine presence of the Shekhinah that's holding us. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy. Psalms. The message is pretty clear in Jewish wisdom. We need to carve out space to cry. And the message is pretty clear. We need to carve out the time to cry together. So in our next couple of minutes, I'll be quiet and let you explore those feelings of Tammuz. And remember that there's 177 of us doing it together. Inhaling and exhaling. I invite you to use your hands, either heating them up before or not, but to place them on a physical spot on your body that could use the baseless love. And hold it there. Allow it to be the divine's presence through their hands, giving you a blessing. And let's begin to close our practice with nourishing breath. Inhaling some soul. Exhaling. Using your breath as clearing for challenging emotions. Inhaling and exhaling. Keeping your meditation going. Bring your awareness back into your body and bring some movement to it if you've been still. And keep using your breath as a clearing force. The last invitation is to imagine a very small thing that you could see yourself doing that would be about baseless love for the world or your family. Imagine that for yourself, doing that. Notice what it feels like to offer that. And as you come out of your meditation, you can grab a pen and a piece of paper and write down that act so you remember to do it. And bring your awareness back to the screen so we can see some eyes and see each other. And remember, we can build this world in love. It's on us to be present with the sorrows and present with the things that we can put into the field. Maybe even some smiles at each other. And a high five to the other person across the screen who went into the challenging emotions with each other and also was there to support the other people. My invitation to you all is the Hebrew calendar. I did not invent it, but it's brilliant and I love it. And it offers something really special that could be a slight awareness shift of how you see each day, also in Jewish time. And Tammuz is tough. And the next couple weeks is actually ancient and biblically tough. So we'll get through it together with our acts of baseless love. And with that, I'm going to pass it back over to Mark for us to close out. And I'm so grateful to this community to allow space to be with whatever it is.
Grateful to you, Sarah. Thank you so much. The beautiful practice on ahavat chinam, on baseless love. What do we need it? Thank you so much, as always. And let's seal the practice for those of us who are mourning, an opportunity to recite the mourner's Kaddish. Thanks to Jordan for sharing the words on the screen. If you're in mourning now, if you're observing a yard site, if it's your custom to join in the Kaddish, if you're not reciting Kaddish, please stay present. You can still practice and be part of this by creating a minyan of comfort for those who are. And you can put the name or names of those you're honoring today in the chat, either now or after we recite Kaddish. And if you're joining me, please do so by rising in body or in spirit, and you can unmute at this time. Yit Gadal, Yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Yalma Yifrach Yitei Yichal Yitei Hayechon Yorechon Yeh Dechol Beit Yisrael Ha'agalah V'Yisrael Pari V'Imru Amen.
Amen.
Yehi Shmei Rabba
Rabba
Mevorach
Mevorah,
Ulamei
Olam
Maya
Leomaya.
Yitbarach Yishtabach V'Yitpa'ar V'Yitmam V'Yitnaseh Yitadar V'Yiteg V'Yital Shemei Dechol Brifu La'ila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata amiran ba'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya Chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'romav uyaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen.
Amen.
Shalom b'mramav amen.
Friends, thanks so much for joining us. Wishing you a Shabbat Shalom. If you're leaving us now, here's our lineup. Teachers for next week. We'll be meeting Monday through Friday. Wonderful lineup of teachers. Monday, we'll be meeting with Rabbi Lauren Tuckman. Tuesday, Marita Anderson. Wednesday, Yiska Smith joining us from Israel. And then two teachers from the UK next week, Thursday and Friday, Zach Newman and Roland Brandman of Hamakom. Very much looking forward to a beautiful week of practice. As always, you're invited to stay with us for conversation with Sarah today about today's beautiful teaching, or to share reflections on the practice. The chat is open for both. And if you're asking a question, just preface it by writing question in all caps, and I'll keep an eye out for that. Thanks to Jordan, of course, for holding our space so beautifully as always. And each of you for being here. And if you're leaving now, Shabbat Shalom. We'll see you hopefully next week. Let's bring Sarah in. Oh boy, Sarah, thank you. Really just what we need. I was sitting, first of all, I appreciated, what I really appreciated you beginning by acknowledging that, this so-called woo-woo, hippy dippy, you know, uh, aligning with the cycles of the moon, um, it's ancient, so it's ancient wisdom, right? Like this was thinking, well, maybe it is woo woo. Maybe our just our, we're descendants of woo woo hippies of ancient days. Nothing wrong with that. Um, Another way of framing our tradition.
When I
Uh,
think of hippie woo-woo, I think of someone who's in touch with their feelings, does a
mhm.
lot of dancing, and is close to nature. I think all of those things are probably pretty good for all of us.
Cool.
So we all
Yeah,
return to our hippie woo-woo.
absolutely. Absolutely. Let's embrace it. So, this time, you mentioned, this is the time of year that literally and otherwise brings the heat. And I was thinking about, you did a beautiful job of sketching out like what this period is, especially this period from next Tuesday, the 17th of Tammuz through the 9th of Av, the so-called 3 weeks. But I was also aware of, well, this is where we're sitting here and the full moon is before the 17th of Tammuz. And actually, there was a siege. It was a siege of Jerusalem. Like the 17th of Tammuz marks the cracking, the breaching of the walls of Jerusalem. And then ultimately on the 9th of Av, the destruction of the temple and basically the end of Jewish sovereignty in the year 70 CE for the next almost 2,000 years. But where we're situated right now is in a siege. I was thinking about, pressure, the pressure of feeling besieged. And I imagine I'm not the only one who kind of feels that way, who feels besieged and feels the pressure. I was feeling like I noticed myself feeling pressure in my chest, pressure on the spirit, just kind of, uh. Um, so I just wonder if you might speak to that a little bit, right? Like we're not like the crack is going to happen. There's a cracking open, and then there's like, and of course we're moving, spoiler alert, moving into Av on the 15th of Av, this Tu B'Av. And then, everything is on a trajectory after that into the fall that's on an upward trajectory. But right now, um, I guess what I'm saying is I appreciated the opportunity to practice love towards self and others without strings, faceless, as you were describing it, as kind of an antidote to pressure, to feeling the pressure. So I just wanted to know, I guess I'm just going to kick things off by asking you about, first of all, are you feeling pressured? And is this work for you?
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for the reflection of the sit and for trying to help me say my message in different words. Yes, I feel besieged. I'm not going to go into all the reasons about why I do, but I do. And my commitment every day is to just put one foot in front of the other, to recognize what's around,
Mm-hmm.
and to do and take agency of what I can control. And if I can control being a small part of something bigger that needs to happen, I want to contribute to that.
Mm-hmm.
I live in Washington, D.C. It is charged in our atmosphere. The water is pressurized. There's a lot of pressure. So yeah, yeah, there's that.
Yes.
I think I want to reiterate that the Hebrew calendar is what my teaching always is, teaches us about exploring different types of emotions. It is a cyclical cycle that happens. There's 4 new years. There's a rhythm to it. The first month is actually Nisan, which is Passover, which is order. And then we go into our fullest expressions of freedom and our biggest revelations through the spring. In the summer, we start burning it all down. Then we are met with love by the full moon of Av. That brings us all the way into Elul, which is about returning to ourselves in the presence of God with love and doing our forgiveness tshuva work, met with each other. Then it's kind of quiet in the end of fall so that we really turn and work with our emotions. When it gets dark in Kislev, we start bringing light and miracles so we can think about hope even in the dark times of the year. And then as we come out into Shvat, we start planting seeds for what the potential could be for us into Adar, which is joy and chaos and turning everything up on its head. And then we cycle back to Nisan and start the year again. So I didn't invent Tammuz, but it's here. And it's also so real because to me, it feels like 5784 has just been Tammuz, just been in Tammuz this whole time.
Right. Yeah. But what I appreciated, especially when you brought in Ecclesiastes, a time for everything, that also reminded me that this is now, right? And this is not necessarily the way it's going to stay. Everything is shifting. I want to ask you a couple of good questions in the chat. I just want to flag two to ask. One is basically inviting you to say a little bit more about what you mean by baseless love. Like, what does that
I got a
mean?
lot of private messages saying define baseless love.
Yeah, a lot of people want to know what baseless.
All of you people saying,
right.
What do you think baseless love means?
Right.
So I want to open to the chat back to the chat to just crowdsource that.
There's a couple of Andrew has a beautiful answer. He wrote immeasurable love without limit or bound, even as baseless hatred is ultimate constriction, meets Ryan.
Right, I said it came from the teachings that the destruction of the temple happened from baseless hatred.
Right.
So then the recreation of the temple will happen from baseless love. So
right.
My understanding of what I taught there was that it is without, like you said, strings. It's not like I have a daughter. Of course, I love my daughter. It's like I have this person across the street and I love that person. I don't have like a family tie to that person. I could just be in responding to that person with love rather than maybe reacting with trying to see what the situation is. How should I feel about them? What are their politics? Do I like them? It's just
There's a theology that like blames the victim, basically, that, the sinat hinam thing is about, oh, this happened because of baseless hatred within the Jewish people, but it's occurred, which is not a theology that I subscribe to, that blames the victim. But I was thinking that under pressure, there is this inclination towards baseless hatred. Like there's there's a splitting and anger, and the fear gets expressed as anger and pushing away. So what I appreciated about this, however, and I hope people will respond with their definition of baseless love, is that I'm really feeling, oh, that's the antidote, right? And as Andrew was saying, like sinat hinam, the baseless hatred, is this constriction. Like under pressure, there's an inclination to clench up and kind of, pull in. And this was expansive, the exercise of applying baseless love to different parts of the body that you invited us to do, I thought was really helpful. For me, I'll just throw in, and I hope people will respond to your question. The baseless love is like, it's love without reason or condition or, like you said, like, what am I going to get, right? Like there's no quid pro quo. It's just generously offered in some way. I think
we need like a world anthem about baseless love.
Like, we could probably make a good playlist of that.
Sing it.
Yeah. Non-transactional, people are writing.
Hopefully I answered enough to have more investigation for you, which is the most Jewish thing I can do.
Grace.
Nothing clearly definitive, but more questions on it.
Let me feed you a question that Lester's asking, which is related, not necessarily directly, but it's related about blessing. I don't remember if during the practice you used the word blessing or whether you offered a blessing. Probably you did at some point.
I imagined that the Shekhinah, the loving presence, the divine presence of the Shekhinah that's in diaspora with us and also is present for the challenging emotions, actually all the emotions that the Shekhinah is there for us. And also the using of hands, which could be very helpful for me in both allowing myself to feel sorrow and putting my heart right there so that it has a place to hold.
Yeah.
But also a place to also I can physically feel love coming from me. Imagining my parents giving me my Friday night blessing. Imagine me giving my daughter my Friday night blessing. Imagine being in priestly blessing land of using hands as action points, and also everything we know that about embodiment awareness practices, about the power of hands for action and justice and love. I
So
think
what does blessing mean to you? So here, Lester's question is like, what is that? What does that mean? Like, what is it? What is to give a blessing? What is a blessing?
think there's three different kinds of blessings. I'm not gonna be able to recall them. Remember, I'm just an entrepreneur, not a rabbi.
Just you. Like, what's
I
your,
think there's
like,
you
what's your
can
take?
bless for praise, you can bless for asking for something, and you can bless for the awareness of the opportunity to be in the moment. I think it's three different ones. Maybe there's someone with more knowledge who could actually give you exactly the
I don't
word.
know. I'm not like, I don't know if we're looking for a technical answer.
So-
Like what is that? Like for me, it's like when it's like an intention, a connection. Like when you were talking about like may the Shekhinah bless, may you be blessed with a sense of the presence of Shekhinah, or may Shekhinah bless you with, or whatever we do a blessing for healing, before we begin. And I think there's a kind of a hypothesis that by being aware of connection, there is a flow of energy that is activated in some way.
Think of blessings as tools. I think of them as spiritual tools. You can have different applications of your tool. You're not all screwdrivers are doing the same thing. You use a screwdriver for a variety of things that need screwdrivers. So I would think of blessings as tools that way. And when I'm evoking the idea of offering a blessing to yourself or offering a blessing to other people, it's about having the ability to be present in the moment and hold through discomfort. Or it's about being present in the moment to allow the space for the love. Or it's about using it as words that can help us bring down a felt sense of the divine presence. Or it could just be something that your grandparents taught you to do in that moment, and you do it and it feels good and you connect with them in that way, and then that's good too. But again, I would think of it more as like a tool in your tool belt, and ask you how you like to use your tools. Lester, I hopefully that answered the question enough for you to have more self-inquiry, and that you can teach us someday your blessing meditation.
Beautiful. All right, Sarah, want to thank you. It's a great way to close out our week together, and wish you you and your family Shabbat Shalom. Thanks for this ongoing partnership.
Right back at you, everyone. And if you're looking for more materials for Tammuz, go to At the Well. It's right there for you to do with your family or your community, or even more introspection for yourself too. Thank you so much for having me today. I hope that you have a full-hearted feeling next couple of weeks as we reach some of the beginning of the toughest weeks of the calendar.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks to Jordan. Thanks each of you for being here.
Hi, everyone.
Shalom, everyone. See you next week.
Thank you. Thank you for the sweet